Hello folks, you were to do this homework last night, so I will check this in tomorrow when I see you. Hopefully you grabbed your notes handout out of the folder at the front of the room. Please stop and pause this video as needed so you can keep up with what's going on. I would also suggest that you star or circle anything that you might want to have re-explained when I return tomorrow. Today we're going to be talking about sequences. Okay, and a sequence is simply a list of numbers related to each other by a rule. Okay, a list of numbers related to each other by a rule. Okay, and that rule could be almost anything. For our cases, we're going to use operations like you're going to add 4 every time, you're going to multiply by a half every time, or something of that nature. When I refer to a term, that just means each number in a sequence. So if I say the first term, that's the first number in the sequence. If I say the 8th term, that's the 8th number in a sequence. For example, let's take a look at this sequence here. Okay, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, and so on. So if I ask you for a sub 1, that just means what's the first term? And it is 1. A sub 2 means the second term, which is 1. A sub 3 is the third term. A sub 4 is the fourth term, and so on and so forth. See if you can find the pattern for that sequence. Let me know tomorrow during class. The type of sequence that I want to talk about today is an arithmetic sequence. This sequence is a sequence whose terms differ by a constant amount, meaning they go up by the same number every time or they go down by the same number every time. And we call that the common difference. Okay, and the variable we're going to use for that is going to be D. Okay, this is the amount between consecutive terms. So what happened from one term or the other? Did it go up? Did it go down? And by how much? Okay, notice you see the word difference in there. So the best way you can do this is subtract them to see what happened. All right, so take a look. I am going to give you a sequence. I want you to find the common difference. Okay, now it is pretty easy to see in number 1 that we go up by 2. Excuse me, we go up by 2 every time. Okay, and I need you to make a little bit of a correction here. I need to have a 33 in there as well. The mathematical way to go about that is to take 31 and subtract 29, and that tells you that your common difference is 2. It goes up by 2 every time. If you take a look at number 2, you might be able to see that it goes up by 3 every time. The mathematical way to do that is to subtract the second term minus the first term. The second term minus the first term. And when you do that, you will get that they go up by 3 every time. In number 3, it's pretty easy to see that these go down by 5 every time. The mathematical way to do that would be to take the second term and subtract the first term, and you will see that the common difference is -5, which means it goes down by 5 every time. Now, there is a formula for this, for an arithmetic sequence, and the formula looks something like this. Okay, so what does all this mean? A1 is the first term. D, we just talked about, is the common difference. Okay, and the N that you see here and here is the term you are finding. So for example, if I'm finding the 50th term, that n will be a 50. If I'm finding the 18th term, that n will be an 18. Okay, so find the first 6 terms of each arithmetic sequence. So if you take a look at number 1, it says a sub 1 is 8. That means my first term is 8. The common difference is -3, which means it goes down by 3 every time. So if I'm going to find the first 6 terms, there's the first one. If I subtract 3, there's the second, subtract 3, there's the third, the fourth, the fifth, and finally the sixth. So those are the first 6 terms of that arithmetic sequence. I start at the first term and I do what they tell me. So in number 2, I'm going to start with a 200 and I'm going to do what they tell me. We're subtracting 90. There's the second term, the third term, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. So those are the first 6 terms of that sequence. Number 3, this time I'm starting at -400, and it looks like I'm going up by 300 every time. So if I take these and go up by 300, how many is that? There's 4 terms, there's 5 terms, and there's the first 6 terms of that sequence. Now don't be scared by fractions, okay? They just make you use your calculator a little bit more. So my first term is 3/2. Now you could also write that as 1 1/2 if you wanted. It does not matter to me. The common difference is a fourth, so I'm going to go up by a fourth every time. I'm going to add a fourth to each of these terms until I get 6 of them, because that's what I was asked for. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the first 6 terms. And if you feel like writing them as decimals, you can write them as decimals as well. Okay. In the next section, I actually am going to ask you to find a random term. So in the last section, it was find the first 6. Now what if I only ask you for term number 6? I only want the 6th one. So here's where you're going to use your formula. Your formula was a sub n is equal to a1 plus n minus 1 times d. So I'm going to use that. My a sub 1 is 13, plus I'm looking for the 6th term. Okay, that 6 goes right there because it says a sub 6 down here. Minus 1, and then my common difference is 4. So you can type it into your calculator like that, and it should spit out that your answer is 33. Notice this is actually going to be 13 plus 5 times 4. 6 minus 1 is 5, and that will get you 33. Now, of course, you probably could just list them out and get the first 6 of them. But in number 2, I asked you for the 50th term. So I'm thinking you probably don't want to list out 50 of them. Okay, so we start with a sub 1 plus I'm finding the 50th term minus 1, and the common difference is 5. So really this is 7 plus 49 times 5, and the 50th term will be 252. In number 3, I want to find the 90th term. So we start with our a sub 1, which is -70, plus I'm looking for the 90th term, and my common difference is -2. So this is really -70 plus 89 times -2. And the 90th term will be -248. Finally, in number 4, I'm finding the 50th term. So let's start with our a sub 1. The 50th term is what I'm looking for, and my common difference is -0.25. So really, this is 14 plus 49 times -0.25. And that term would be 1.75, or of course 1 3/4. Okay, last section for us then. You're going to write the formula for the nth term, and then once you find that formula, we're going to find the 20th term. Okay, so the first thing I need to look at is, what is my common difference? My common difference, if you look at number 1, it looks like it's going up by 4 every time. Okay, and then I'm also going to need this guy right here, which is my a sub 1. That's my first term. Now remember your formula, which is that. You will need to have this memorized for a test or quiz. So my formula is going to be a sub n is equal to my first term, which is 1, plus n minus 1 times the common difference, which is 4. Now if I want to find the 20th term, I'm going to do what I was doing in that last section, which will look like that, which is really 1 plus 19 times 4, which gives me a 20th term of 77. If you look at number 2, my first term is 7. It looks like it goes down by 4 this time, so my common difference is going to be 4. So if I'm going to find the general formula, it's a sub n is equal to my first term plus n minus 1 times my common difference, which is negative 4. Now I'm going to find the 20th term. So if I plug all my stuff in, my first term was 7 plus 20 minus 1 times negative 4. So really this is 7 plus 19 times negative 4, which will give you negative 69. If you look at number 3, everything's given right there for you. So you can go straight to that general formula. My first term is 9 plus n minus 1, and my common difference is 2. So if I want to find the 20th term, I start with my first term, plus 20 minus 1 times my common difference, which will be 9 plus 19 times 2, gives me a 20th term of 47. And finally, number 4 here. My general formula starts with my first term of negative 20 plus n minus 1 times my common difference, which is negative 4. So if I want to find the 20th term, I'm going to do negative 20 plus 20 minus 1 times my common difference, which was negative 4. And this is really negative 20 plus 19 plus 19 times negative 4, which will give me a 20th term of negative 96. Okay, so those are your notes for tomorrow. You are going to go ahead and complete this homework, and I will check both last night's homework and tonight's homework all at once on Friday.